Hey y'all, peace and great evening. I hope y'all had an amazingly great day in Imago Day. This is Victoria I. Phoenix here, the founder of Trauma Training University, where we're helping communities become more trauma triumphant. We teach people to see and to treat trauma with the trained eye. Okay. I've been off of this series for a minute, but can y'all believe that ACES at Play, where we're exploring these trauma impacted personality types, not flawed persons or people, but they have trauma impacted personality types, okay? Personality traits that have been trauma impacted. And because our goal at TTU and my goal as an ACE escape strategist, adverse childhood experience is what ACE stands for. Childhood trauma happens between 0 and 18 years of age, but it impacts people throughout their lifetimes. And so while I'm helping adults, okay, triumph over this trauma and play these ACEs, as I say, I want to get on here as much as possible. My business, the books I write, the last two, the one that's getting ready to come out, a lot of the ones that are forthcoming, intermingled with trauma triumphant training and ministry of the gospel, which are inseparable to me, are about helping people become trauma triumphant. A lot of all my work, my marketplace ministry, my business is about trauma triumphant, but a lot of ministry, if you realize the true nature of trauma and the true nature of God, you realize that that you cannot separate being trauma triumphant from the gospel of Jesus Christ. But tonight I'm on training to help people be trauma triumphant. So we're on part 9, guys. Can you believe part 9 of this series, ACES at Play? Okay, so ACES at Play is, again, we're uncovering. I'm uncovering for people these trauma impacted personality types. People, I guarantee one of all the other we've done. And of course, several of them had 2 parts to them, but we're on part 9. We're on a different personality type tonight. And my goal with this is, as with any other thing I get on here and talk about, is as it relates to trauma or adverse childhood experiences or ACEs, is to help individuals be trauma triumphant, to overcome this stuff. So specifically with this series, ACES at Play, that when you see something going on in a particular person, it's a consistent negative behavior or some generational stuff going on, or just dysfunction and continuous repetitive failure, and it seems like people cannot escape the foolishness, and it's like, don't you have common sense? Why are you attracting the same wrong person? Why are you being this person? Why do you always sabotage the opportunity? Why are you never growing? Why are you always stagnant or going backward? Why? Remember the movie Life? You can't get right. They called him Can't Get Right. You always screwing up something. A lot of times it's not that something's wrong with the person. In the industry of helping people with trauma education, and specifically for my company helping people become trauma triumphant, we no longer say to people, what's wrong with you? It's the trauma informed, trauma responsive, and in my case, the trauma triumphant response to people is what happened to you, not what's wrong with you. So the reason I'm saying that is because one of the main goals of this ACES at Play series, where we're looking at these personality types of people, you might know some of them intimately, so intimate that they're sitting in your chair right now watching this video through your eyes, wink, wink, right? The reason why we want to do this series, or I've been doing this series, and this is part 9, is because, one, you want to help individuals understand that these personalities are true personalities. You're not crazy, and it could be you. It could be somebody that you love or close to, somebody that you're supposed to mentor, somebody you work with, a significant other, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, and they may be your ex because of the fact that they have this trauma impacted personality type, and you didn't recognize it. You thought something was wrong with them, but it's not what's wrong with you. It's what happened to you. That's the trauma triumphant way to look at it. And some people will say, well, you're being too, you're romanticizing about this. Something is wrong with them. No, many times it's nothing wrong with the person. They just have flawed personality traits, okay, impacted by trauma. There are ACEs at play, okay? That's my terminology, ACEs at play, adverse childhood experiences. Something happened between the ages of 0 and 18 years of age. They never dealt with it, and so it's dealing with them. It's dealing with them in their relationships. It's dealing with them in their self-esteem. It's dealing with them in every part of their life, and so that's why I love what I do. I'm glad. I know for a fact I'm called to do this. I'm built to do this. I'm equipped to do this, and so we want people to recognize that these are real flawed or not flawed personalities, but trauma impacted personality types. Also, we want people to know that it's nothing wrong with the person. It's just something happened to them and fashioned part of who they are. All babies are born trusting, loving, full of faith. Babies. A lot of times in the Bible, especially Jesus, when he speaks, he compares us to children. Say we have to receive the kingdom as a child, saying that, you know, or you have to have the faith of a child. All children are born trusting, loving, fearless until life teaches them something else. And a lot of times it's not just life, it's the adults that they are entrusted to, and many times the adults betray that trust. And so we want people to realize it's not what's wrong with a person, but what happened to them. And then thirdly, once we realize that these personality types are real, it's a lot of them, okay? They're not, it's not necessarily something wrong with the person, but they have flawed personality traits. And then thirdly, how do you deal with it? Okay, because like I said, some people know this type of person. Like I said, we've probably done 6 or 7 personality types. Even though we're on session 9, some of them had 2 or 3 parts to them. So we've probably done between 5 and 7 personality types that was revealed to me just by my study, my personal experience, and the gift that God gave me, these ACES glasses, that I can see things through trauma triumphant lenses now. Let me say it that way. And so you know people like this, and we want to help you better deal with them. Okay, it might be able to sabotage some. Salvage some relationships. You might be able to rescue and restore some relationships. You may be able to be lifted. Not be able to. You will be lifted out of some strongholds and some struggles that you have had because of personality flaws that within yourself or people around you, and you thought it was your fault. And so we want to. This is a trauma triumphant training, okay? And so tonight we're talking about the masochistic matriarch, the masochistic matriarch. So a masochist is a person, or masochism is when you take pleasure in pain. And a lot of people got to know this when it was the 12 shades of gray or whatever that thing was, because it is a part of the definition that has to do with sex. But I'm not talking about that. People who take pleasure in pain and letting other people, or pretty much putting other people over their own well-being. That's masochistic. When you pretty much, it's like now on the 10 shades or whatever it was, 7, however many shades, 50 shades of gray was it? I don't know. I did watch it a long time ago, but I don't remember it. I didn't watch it a lot like some people, and I'm far removed from a lot of that kind of stuff now. But was it 50 Shades of Grey? I don't know. But in that, they were talking about the sexual part of it. So that these people actually willingly went into this. They knowingly and very consciously wanted the sex to be associated with pain. That's not what I'm talking about. Another part of the definition has nothing to do with sex, but it does have the premise that a person who takes pleasure from pain, they feel better about themselves being abused by others. And the part I'm talking about tonight, not the sexual part of it, where these people know what they're doing and it's some kind of little tricky stuff. Not that. This type of person, the masochistic matriarch, is a person that subconsciously, because they have some personality flaws based on trauma, they're not willingly going after pain, but it's something indirectly they feel better and feel like they're of greater value and worth by letting another person pain them, because many times the pain that another person is causing, they think they're helping that other person, if I'm making sense. And so a masochist, a person who takes pleasure in pain. Matter of fact, let me give the real it's basically what I said, but I'm gonna give you the definition that I got off the dictionary.com. But a masochist is basically a person who prefers pain, who takes pleasure or likes pain, right? So masochistic is now, of course, masochistic. It's an adjective that means having a condition. Well, that's the sexual part of it. I'm not doing that. Of course, y'all know about that from was it 50 Shades of Grey, whatever that was. All right. Number 2, gratified by pain, degradation, meaning people degrading you, deprivation, which means being deprived, etc. Inflicted on oneself either by one's own actions or the actions of others. So again, when you're masochistic, if you're gratified by pain, degradation, deprivation, etc., inflicted on oneself either by one's own actions or the actions of others. Definition 3, tending to be self-destructive. A lot of times this is self-destructive. It's not the whole thing of somebody cutting themselves or doing something intentionally, but because they defer to others to their own destruction. Okay, so tending to be self-destructive destructive is another definition of masochistic. All right, and then the fourth one, tending to find pleasure in self-denial, submissiveness, and degradation. So that's, again, like I said, this is not the type of person that's going, physically to harm themselves, or they're looking for somebody, the wrong person, the wrong mate, or that kind of stuff. No, this person kind of indirectly, they give themselves to others so much. Let me say it that way, and to the point that it's obvious to most people from the outside looking in, but I can't say it's so obvious to that person. But then again, I'm gonna uncover something tonight that it probably is obvious. And listen, I'm gonna try to be on here out of here in record time tonight, because I have a major project going on at my house, and I need to get some stuff done. I need to play a bigger part in it than I have been. But y'all know me. First of all, I'm just blessed with the gift of gab, okay, and not just the gift of gab like some people. It's an anointed gift. It's full of life and power and education behind it that God has shown me and given me. But y'all know when I get started talking on something, I say I'm going to be on here for a little bit, and I'm on here. But preferably, I think I can get on here off here tonight. I hope. Okay. But listen. So the masochistic matriarch, okay, is the matriarch. Y'all know, like the mother figure of the family, the person that's holding everything together, the big mama. Okay. The person, and it's not always the big mama like grandmama, but I'm saying, I'm putting in quotes the big mama, the female in the family, a lot of times, that is known for holding things together. So the masochistic matriarch is that person who is known for holding things together. And because they're known and they carry that weight and they carry that burden of holding the family together, holding the group together, sometimes it might be the neighborhood, but usually it's the family. Because I'm going to tell you that this flawed, this ASAP play, this trauma impacted personality type called the masochistic matriarch is very common in brown families. Okay, I'm not saying black anymore. African American families, especially single parent, single mothers. Okay, the masochistic matriarch, I'm not saying it's nowhere else, but it's very common. Probably 95% of them you're gonna find in a brown, and when I say brown, I mean brown and yellow, brown and light brown, African American Hispanic community. Okay, because of different traumas that are associated with these races of people. So the masochistic matriarch is the mother figure that, because of a burden on her shoulder, okay, and I'm going to talk about that burden in a minute. This, hey Ashley, bless you. The masochistic matriarch, like I said, this is not the kind of masochist where they're trying to cut themselves and that kind of stuff. No, they defer to others, especially their children, especially their grandchildren. And let me tell you why, okay? I don't know exactly where my book is. I know where it is, but I thought it was in my trunk in a box that I use for trainings when I go train, but it's somewhere else and I didn't make the time to go get it. But I'm going to tell y'all, in Viola Davis's autobiography, Finding Me, powerful autobiography, especially when you want to, if you do what I do, if you train people on being trauma triumphant, or if you yourself want to be trauma triumphant, or if you just want a good read, if you just want to be inspired, because everything she has, God bless her, I think she's a woman of God. I pray she is. Everything she has, she deserves that and more. When you read her story, okay, I've been through some things, and y'all, some people who read my books saw some of the things I've been through. I've shared some before, but my life compared to hers, based on her autobiography, is like it's like I lived as Ashley or Hillary from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Okay, and y'all know that wasn't my upbringing, but her life was so full of childhood trauma, so many ACEs at play, adverse childhood experiences. But she's really a poster child for what I teach, which is being trauma triumphant. She overcame it. When I tell y'all, it's a good read. If you haven't read it, go read it. I led a book study in my community on it. Okay, but in that book, she talked about how her father was gravely abusive to her mother. Okay, and then I think he was an alcoholic, but it was deep poverty, deep racism, all that stuff weighing on him. And he was very abusive, like to the point where I'm like, she got to be making this up. There's no way her mother is still living or lived past this kind of stuff. Him beating her with boards and all that kind of stuff, and beating her so frequently and doing so much crazy stuff to her. But when the dad finally kind of settled down, both of the parents got really old. And Viola Davis had kind of made it. She had made it, not as far like she is now, but she had made it in the TV industry. She was giving back to her family, and she she wasn't considered the masochistic matriarch, even though she had what I talked about on another personality type in here. She felt like she had to go save everybody, and then but she overcame it quickly because she knew that it would be her downfall. A lot of people don't until they're bankrupt. Spiritually and financially, right? Because takers are going to take, and when you're giving stuff to people that don't have the capacity to appreciate it, to sustain it, okay, when you're trying to go back and get people out that don't want to be out, even in their mouth might say they're out, want to be out, and a lot of times their mouth, they'll say out of their mouth that they just want the money for this, and this, or they'll show you that they just want to use you instead of they want a handout instead of a hand up. But nevertheless, so I'm not talking about her, but when the parents finally settled down and she had like bought them a house or put them somewhere and sent stuff to them all the time. It even talked about how she would put them in a house, give them furniture, give them everything they need, and then some of her brothers and sisters who had gotten strung out on drugs would sell the stuff out the house, steal the stuff out the house. It got so bad to the dad got to be gravely sick, and of course that's that sowing and reaping thing. He was very abusive to I can't remember the kids, but very abusive to the mother, just nasty, dirty in so many ways. Locked the mother out the house, and I mean, just crazy. Like in the freezing cold, they were in Rhode Island. All types of just stuff, horrific stuff you wouldn't believe. Some people would, because you might have seen this stuff growing up in your own family or your neighborhood or whatever. But that's that reaping and sowing thing. Don't worry about this is a sidebar right here. This is real ministry right here. Don't worry about avenging people, okay? First of all, you're going to trap yourself. You're going to hurt yourself. God can do it better. I promise you, and he does. So the dad had some kind of, I think, cancer or something when they finally got too old. Really, I don't think they settled down. I think he got too old to raise hell, as they say, about some men when they're running streets and running women and beating, and that kind of stuff. I think he just got too old, and then he got sick. I think he had a major type of cancer. And so, and this is kind of like a sidebar, because it got to the point where he was at the house. They had sent him home almost on a hospice type thing, but he was at home, and Viola Davis had paid for the house and stuff for them to live in, but it's overcrowded because her sisters and brothers who are on drugs are there, and then they have their kids there, and then you have people who have sisters and brothers who have left kids there, and all kinds of crazy stuff, right? And the mom and the dad are there. The dad is comfortable there. He doesn't want to go anywhere else. I think he maybe didn't even want to go to a larger house or whatever. And that's a part of that traumatized mindset as well. But it got so bad, and I'm talking about how Viola Davis she is not the masochistic matriarch. Her mother was, but the masochistic matriarch, she kept herself from being there, even though she had made it. Okay, she's not the person that allowed that forerunner friction to get her to feel like she had to take care of everybody. She started out that way, but she got saved before it was too late. And this is an example of what kind of stuff goes on when you're trying to be that savior for everybody. So she was saying that the dad had gotten sick, and he was in the house, and they had all this medical equipment and stuff. He was at the house that she had got for the mother and the father, and all the sisters and brothers and the grandkids staying there when they shouldn't be, and they got drug addicts and stuff in and out, to the point that the daddy is on morphine because he's in the last stages of some kind of cancer or some kind of illness. He's on morphine, and somebody, one of the brothers or sisters who's on drugs, one of their friends or whoever, it could have been the brother or sister, he said somebody stole the daddy's morphine. So he's in pain. He has a grave or a terminal illness. He's on morphine, and somebody stole the morphine out of the house. And so she's like, that I think that was one of the straws that broke the camel's back, if I can remember right, in that book, right? So the book is Finding Me, the autobiography of Viola Davis. So I'm saying this because I was telling you that she was not the masochistic matriarch. Her mother was, okay, and her mother. I thank God for Holy Spirit. So the masochistic matriarch, not only are they detrimental to themselves, but they also can enable and crush other people's destinies. Like all the sisters and brothers of Viola Davis, who and a lot of them some of them were really smart, but they fell off, and some of them got addicted to drugs, and they had children and left them there with the Viola Davis's mother and father, and so she was taking care of them and all of their kids and habits and stuff. And she was like, I can't do this. I know I've made it, but I can't keep doing this because I put stuff in the house for the mom and the dad. They come and get it. They steal it. They even, like I said, they even stole the daddy's morphine. He's terminally ill. But she overcame that. But the mother, a lot of times in brown families, African American and I guess Hispanic, I'm talking about what I know as far as African Americans. I know for a fact you have a matriarch. It could be an aunt or aunt, as some people say. I say aunt, mother, grandmother. It's a female who bears the burden of the family. Who it seems like they're addicted to pain because they defer to other people. They will give their last, and they've been giving their last since they could work, since they were teenagers, since they started out taking care of brothers and sisters maybe. Then they started out, they may have had children young. Their siblings may have had children young. They may have had parents, ailing or elderly parents to take care of. And it's just been a cycle since they were young, some kind of way. And I know for a fact some people that I know how that burden got put on them. But it's some, some adverse childhood experience. Either, like for instance, thank you, Holy Spirit. One of my favorite movies, What's Love Got to Do with It? True story, based on the true story of Tina Turner, right? God rest her soul. At the beginning, the opening scene, the two opening scenes of What's Love Got to Do with It, was a preface or was a foreshadowing of the entire movie. And oftentimes in trainings, I haven't done it in a while. In trainings that I do on trauma, I use these two clips, the two opening scenes on What's Love Got to Do with It, the true story of Tina Turner. It tells you the story of how somebody as talented, as beautiful, as phenomenal as Tina Turner could be abused and degraded and manipulated and oppressed by a joker like Ike Turner, right? The two opening scenes, I'm telling you, adverse childhood experiences causes the masochistic matriarch to have this burden that they have to take care of people. They have to be there for everybody. They have to make if they don't do it, it won't get done. If anybody in the family is going to make it, they got to be not them making it, but they have to be responsible for letting that person make it. And let me go before I go back to, let me go back to this real quick, because I was telling the story of Viola Davis and I got off on another part of the story of Viola Davis. But put a pin in it. If I forget, somebody put it in the comments that I was saying that how masochistic matriarchs become that way is because something that happened to them in childhood. Okay, and so Viola Davis, when her daddy and mother had settled down, they were too old. The daddy was sick, and Viola Davis was trying. I think the daddy might have been dying. They were trying to make some arrangements. They were trying to make sure they were as comfortable as possible because they were old now. And she finally making some money, and she's kind of tried to weed out the brothers and sisters who are stealing from the mom and dad and overcrowding the house. But she's with one of her sisters, and she's talking about you know what. I wonder what daddy and mama's dreams were. So put a pin right there, because I jumped over to What's Love Got to Do with It. Let me close that back before I go back. So What's Love Got to Do with It? The first two scenes of the movie foreshadow the whole movie and tell and explain how this abuse was not just able to occur and continue to occur in somebody as talented and beautiful as Tina Turner, but most people. It's a good explanation, because the opening scene of the movie. Okay, let me skip to the second scene. The opening scene of the movie is Tina Turner's in the church. She's in a country church, and she has the gift of entertainment, the gift of music. She can sing, but she's feeling it in her soul, right? And so she's really getting into it. She's moving her body and everything. And because they're in an old country traditional church. Okay, remember I talk a lot about the trauma of poor teaching of religion, right? So they're in a country church, and the old lady who's directing the choir is not used to people hunching their shoulders and moving. Based on the movie, Tina, the little girl, was not doing anything inappropriate. Okay, she wasn't gyrating and all that kind of stuff like the lady said. She was just humping her shoulders and kind of into the music, because when music is in your soul, it is. When that's your gift, just like when I talk with my hands. I was at a school the other day, a couple months ago. Young white man said, "I can tell you're a good speaker just by the way you move your hands." He was like, but when you love something, you're passionate about it. It doesn't just come out of your mouth; it comes out of every part of you, right? That's a nugget for somebody, right? So it's contagious. It's encapsulating, because you love it and it just oozes from you. You don't have to try, okay? And so Tina Turner was, as a little child, she could have been about 8 or 9, and she's dancing and nothing inappropriate, but she's just into the music. She's singing This Little Light of Mine, right? The opening scene of the movie. Most people know it, right? And so from a traditional Southern church in Nutbush, Tennessee, all right? Very country. That lets you know how country it was. They showed the church out in the sticks somewhere, out in the cornfields or whatever it was. And she had to walk down this dirt road to go home after she got kicked out. But because of the tradition and the poor teaching in this church, the choir director got offended, said that this was inappropriate, what she was doing, what Tina was doing, hunching her shoulders and dancing to the music. Just like this, it wasn't anything inappropriate, but she was feeling the music because she's a musician, right? So because of that poor teaching and tradition, the choir director said it's inappropriate. She told her to stop. She said she was going to stop. But guess what? When it's in you, it's going to come out. When you sing, people who are anointed and gifted to sing don't just sing. Okay. Songs come out of them. Okay. If that makes a difference. Okay. I don't just teach. Truth comes out of me. Okay. It oozes out of me. I can be anywhere and teaching is going to ensue because that's who I am. Okay. So Tina Turner, she told the choir director, this old traditional lady, okay, a victim of poor teaching and religion. Okay. And she told her she was going to stop dancing and all that kind of stuff. But guess what? When it's in you, you can't help it. Based on this, I don't think she was trying to be disrespectful. It was just in her. And what's in you is going to come out. So Tina Turner, they start the song back. Bright light, pretty little light. I'm going to let it shine. Right? I can't sing. But they start back singing the song. And Tina Turner, the little girl, started back dancing and gyrating. Because when it's in you, it's going to come out. Singers don't sing. Songs come out of them. Teachers don't teach. Truth comes out of us. It emanates from us wherever we go. Whatever is in you and you're anointed to do it, it's going to come out. And it's going to have a flavor to it. It's going to have some, as my pastor says, some juice to it. So that juice is coming out. And the old lady who's directing the choir had already told Tina that was inappropriate, which it wasn't. So she dismissed her. Okay. So that's the first thing that happened. The first scene of the movie. I don't want to go that foreshadows the movie as well. Okay. The whole plot of the movie. But let me go to the second scene. So she gets kicked out of the church. She's a little girl, 7 or 8 or 9 years, probably 7 or 8 years old. She looks like she's about 7 or 8. She walks home down the dirt road by herself. She's this church, y'all know country churches, way out in the sticks, right? She walks all the way home to this shack of a house, okay, on a little farm. And what she sees as she walks up is there's a little bug on the plant, and she's so the innocence of this child. She's so enamored with this little bug. She's loving it. She's enjoying it, and it's beautiful. Despite what just happened at her church. Something that she loved to do. Somebody told her she couldn't do it. But guess what? She goes and finds something beautiful. That's the resilience of a child. My God. So she's adoring this little bug on the plant. And then that beautiful thing is taken away from her because she sees that her mother and her grandmother are arguing. And the mother is gathering her stuff to get ready to storm off. And to say, she took Tina's older sister and ran away from the dad who was abusing her, right? That's what she said she was. And the grandmother and the mother, Tina's grandmother and her mother are standing at the door arguing back and forth. I got to leave her here. No, you can't. I can't take it with me. Well, she can't stay here. And so not only do you walk home from having your gift shut down, then you walk home and your little 7 or 8 year old heart is resilient. So you're enjoying just nature, the innocence. You're just in awe of nature, this little bug. And then you see your grandmother and your mother arguing, basically saying that neither one of them wants you. Okay. And your mother is leaving with your older sister, which also says, well, there's something different. Why didn't she want me? And then also you're being stripped from your mother, which is a bond. So it's so much trauma going on right there. So many potentially traumatic experiences going on right there, even from the thing at the church all the way to that, right? And so she was very hurt by the fact that her mother left her. She was hurt by the fact that her mother took the sister instead of her. Now the mother said, kids can't rationalize this stuff, but the mother said it was because the other sister was older than her, and she could kind of, she could do better with her than a small child. And you can kind of rationalize that. That's the kind of stuff. When my birth mother, God rest her soul, had 4 children. She had an older child, my daughter, she's my sister, my oldest sister. Then she had 2 in the middle, but those 3, when she got ready to give the 2 in the middle up for adoption, my oldest sister was like 7 or 8 or whatever. old enough that she thought she could stay by herself, because she used to stay at home and keep my granddaddy and stuff like that when my mother was out running the streets. The other two were babies, and she was like, I don't have time for no baby, so she gave them up. So rationally, people saying, well, she kept my sister because my sister was able to be, you know, even taking care of my mom's responsibilities, which was seeing about my granddaddy or whatever. But my two middle brothers and sisters that she gave up for adoption, they were babies. And she was out in the streets then, wild, young, wounded, many ACEs at play in her life. So she gave up the two in the middle. And I wasn't even on the scene then. And then years later, she had me, okay? And so that's kind of the rationalization. But kids don't understand it. So Tina Turner, she's wounded because, one, her mother, a child in their mother, a daughter in their mother, that relationship severed. That's traumatic. But then also the fact that the mother took the older sister. It's like, what's wrong with me? If she, so all this is going on in her. So later on in the movie, when Ike starts to beat her, or Ike sets her up for the beating. He didn't know it, but he found out later on. He was talking about the night that they first slept together, right? When she spent the night at his house. He was dating somebody else. They weren't supposed to be dating. She spent the night at his house after rehearsal. He said, it's too late. I called your mama. I don't want you going home this late. So, but he came home from the hospital well, it was the next night. Yeah. So she slept over, and then Ike's current girlfriend, the mother of some of his children, woke up, and she's already got mental stuff going on, and Ike is a part of it, a reason for it. So she wakes up and sees Tina in the bedroom and assumed that Ike is sleeping with her, which that was his intentions, but they weren't sleeping together yet. So she shot herself. She ended up in the hospital. So the next night is when Tina and him first had sex, right? And this is a key point, right? Going back to the first two scenes of the movie, all right? How the first two scenes of the movie, when you have a trained eye for trauma, okay, gives a prophetic overview of the whole movie, how this abuse could take place. So he comes home from the hospital, and she's there, and he's practicing on the piano to kind of supposedly ease his mind. Oh, it's been a long day at the hospital, this, and this, and my daddy got holes kicked in his stomach, so I can't stand the smell of the hospital. I've been in the hospital so many times, this, and this, and he made himself vulnerable to her, which is a player tactic now. That, you know, I've been abandoned before. My daddy got taken away from me. He got holes kicked in his stomach by messing around with some gangster's woman, and this, and this, and then back up the night that he met her, and they were in the cafe after she sang in the bar in the club. He said, I make people famous and then they go off and leave me. All right. I make people famous and they go off and leave. And then later on, he asked her, you know, would you do the same? She was like, no, I wouldn't ever leave you. I know what it's like to have your own. Well, no. Like, so then the first time he beat her in the movie, you can't tell you it was the first time, whatever. In the movie, how it was portrayed, the first time Ike really beat her, he beat her really bad, punched her so hard he hurt his hand or whatever. And somebody said, well, that was embellishment too, because he's a musician. He always protected his hand. They said the first time he beat her was actually with a shoe horn, a shoe stretcher, right? But that was some of the, you know, documentary type stuff. The first time he beat her in the movie, after he beat her, he told her, well, I guess you go and leave me like everybody else or something like that. What's going on then? So not only did he beat her, then he made her feel guilty after the beating, even though he should be the one feeling guilty. That's another trauma impacted personality type. But so later on in the movie, after several beatings, when it's deep into the movie, you can tell he's out of control drugs wise, out of control beating her, out of control with the women, right in her face, blatantly having affairs and that kind of stuff. And so he beat her really bad while her friends were there one day, because he was in the studio. He was in the studio in the house getting high. They were having a pool party, and of course, so he's frustrated, and he beat her, and her girlfriend, which was called Jackie, played by Vanessa Bell Calloway, came into the back room while she was on the floor crying, blood in her nose and face swollen up. And Jackie said somebody ought to beat him, so, and she was like, no. So Tina said, no, don't you do that, Jackie, don't you do that, don't you? She said, can't nobody understand how, you know, how much pressure he got on him, this and this. And she said, and I know what it's, and Jackie said, you ought to leave him. And she said, no, this is a key. She said, no, I know what it's like to have your own flesh and blood walk out on you. That goes back to the second scene of the movie, okay? I know what it's like to have your own flesh and blood walking out on you. And she said, I can't do that to him. Even though he's beating her, when I say black and blue, okay, even though she's much more talented by herself. She's beautiful. She could have a good man. She could have a powerful career, because you saw throughout the movie where people started to prefer her, and they would vocalize the fact that they wanted to work with her and not them as a couple, because they knew his reputation. They knew not only was he beating her, but he was on drugs and that he was irresponsible. And so, but because of her being abandoned, there's an ACES at play here. The masochistic matriarch has been abandoned, or had their opportunity taken from them as a child, has been overlooked, has not felt like they were left out. And so when they finally get into the position here's a key point right here. A lot of them don't believe that they can make it, that they'll ever make it, but they put their chips on everybody else. They say, hey, if my daughter or my granddaughter or my son or my grandson or my nephew can make it, I know hope is all gone for me, but I'm gonna put all my chips on them. I'll spend out for them. And this is a perfect segue. Going back to Viola Davis' book, okay? So Viola Davis said she was, so this is towards the end of the book where things have kind of settled down. The mother and the dad don't fight anymore because they're too old now, and the dad is dying of, I think, cancer. And so, you know, he's reaping what he's sown. And so, I was hoping, but I was hoping it was in the back of my truck, but I didn't make plans. I really wanted to read this to you all, but it might be better if I just sum it up. So Viola Davis is with one of her sisters, as the daddy is dying, and the mom, they're old in their age, they're settled down, and it might have been, you know, one night while he's sleeping, and one night they're there to see about him, and the sister asked Viola Davis, or vice versa. One of them asked the other sister. Either Viola Davis asked her sister, or the sister asked her. It doesn't really matter right now. I wonder what, you know, now that they're dying, they're old, and Viola Davis is saying, now I got some clarity. I think it was Viola Davis saying this to her sister. She's trying to take care of them the best she can. She's taking them on trips. She's got some money now, so she's helping them. And so now Viola Davis, her parents are settled down. They're old. The dad is not abusive anymore because he's dying of cancer, which is, he's reaping what he's sown again, like I said. And Viola Davis has made it in the movie industry, so she's doing things for them. And she was like, I wonder, I just tried to help them live the best life they could. And a lot of times, like I talked about, because of the ACEs at play in their own lives, the trauma that had impacted them, they wouldn't even receive a lot of the gifts and stuff that she was trying to give them, because they wouldn't, I think if I read in the book, they wouldn't go to larger houses. They wouldn't kick out all these Viola Davis's sisters and brothers who were on drugs and had their kids and stealing from them and that kind of stuff because of that trauma. And so Viola Davis asked her sister, she said, I wonder if daddy ever, because daddy and mama ever, like, what their dreams were. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to try to help some of their dreams come true before they die, especially since I have money and fame and stuff now. And she said, I wonder, you know, if any of their dreams ever came true, or even what were their dreams? Did they have any dreams? And the sister said to Viola Davis, we were their dreams. We are their dreams, okay? We are their dreams. And that resonated so heavy in me, because I knew exactly what she was talking about. She said, we were mom's and dad's dreams. They put, even though the daddy was, I'm not making excuses, but I'm helping you to be trauma informed and trauma triumphant, to let you know it's not what's wrong with people, it's what's happened to him. So the fact that he was abusive, like gravely abusive to the mother. Some of that stuff you wouldn't believe it if you have not read the book, and if you do, you're not gonna believe it. And they were just literally piss poor, like pissed in the bed to keep warm type stuff. Hey, brother Corey, great to see you. And so they lived a horrible upbringing. So I thank God, like I said, I'm grateful for everything, every award Viola Davis has won, all the wealth she has now, the fact that she married the man of her dreams after, you know, being abused by men and called ugly and stuff. And she prayed specifically. In the book, it talks about somebody told her to pray specifically what she wanted, and she did. Shortly after that, the man came, everything she asked for. But she had been abused so long, right? And so by I think people in the neighborhood, old men, she had a horrific, very, very, very high trauma life growing up. Okay, many ACEs at play, many adverse childhood experiences. But she said to her sister, I hope I have helped mama and daddy achieve at least some of their dreams, but I don't even know what their dreams are. And a sister said to her, we were their dreams. And so that's how, now that's the key thing to how masochistic matriarchs, the matriarch, the person in the family that's usually a woman, a lot of times a single brown woman, African-American woman, because of the burden that they had growing up, something in their life happened and they felt like they never had a chance. Somebody stole their chance. They lost their chance because of racism, because of poverty. I never had a chance. That's what they say. Or something happened. Nobody was there for them. Nobody helped them carry the burden. Nobody made the way for them. And that's many African-American people. We are backwards. And I'm going to talk about this in a minute. We are backwards. A lot of times, instead of giving our children, let me say this, not our. A lot of times, African-Americans, instead of giving their children blessings, they give them burdens. They give them debts. They give them spiritual battles to fight, these generational curses, financial battles to fight, battles they never should ever fight. Many African American families get to the point you see the basketball star, the football star. I gotta make it because I gotta buy my mama a house. Okay, other races of people don't do that. They pass the house on to their children. They pass the wealth. It's generational wealth, not generational debt and curses, right? And so black people are backwards in that, but a lot of it has to do with even the transgenerational trauma, even dating back from slavery. But it's a lot of stuff that's why it's important. The ministry of what I do as a trauma and ACE and social trauma escape strategist, but more importantly, the ministry I do as a minister of teaching of the gospel. This is very important because we got to get out of this stuff. There's a way to get out of it, but many times because the matriarch, okay, is masochistic. Now they'll give anything for anybody. No, they always find themselves at the lower end of the stick, the bad end of the stick. People take advantage of them. People who are old enough now, who have borrowed enough, who have taken enough, should be taking care of them now, and they don't care. They don't care. It's like they're addicted to the pain. That's why I said the masochist people who seem to take pleasure in pain. It's not that they're willingly or consciously. It's just that they feel like, hey, I never had a shot, so I want to make sure my niece, my nephew, my daughter, my son, my granddaughter, whoever it is, has a shot. These kind of people a lot of times worship pastors and leaders like, oh man, they live vicariously through somebody. Even drug dealers, people who are doing the wrong thing, people who are doing the right thing, somebody who made it, because these people feel like I never made it, I'm never gonna make it. Growing up in heavy racism, deep South racism, like that really dirty, nasty, where they never ever thought they had a chance. That the trauma of that racism, now that's a powerful ACE right there. Some people grew up, I know them, you know them, elders. They're in their 60s, 70s, 80s now. Will never take a chance. Will think you're crazy for taking a chance. Think it's impossible because of what white people and other races of people or other opportunities, or just the devil himself has done to them for generations. And so when they feel like they don't have a chance to make it, okay, I'm telling you, there's never too late. When in God, anything is possible. Okay, with man it's possible, but with God, nothing shall be impossible. You're never too young. You're never too old, right? God, I promise you, okay? But you have to have that revelation. You have to be willing to open up. And a lot of these people, they don't. They've been so traumatized by poverty, by abuse in and outside of their families. Growing up poor and black or brown, poor African American, poor in the deep South, deep racism. It's been embedded in them. It's strong. They're mental strongholds that I'm never gonna make it no matter what. So my granddaughter or my daughter might make it, so I'm gonna put all my chips on them. So even if this person keeps letting me down, even if I always get the short end of the stick, even though I'm old in age and I've worked my finger to the bone, I've put in my time, it's time for me to relax and retire. I can't see that because I feel like if they make it, I make it, because I'm never going to make it on my own. So I'm going to put all my chips on them. I'm going to bet the bank on them. And that's how the matriarch, the masochistic matriarch comes about. Okay. That person who by some adverse childhood experience, I just named many of them, abused as a child, just deep poverty, just never had a chance, feel like even now that things have changed a lot, and people might be ministering to them and say, hey, in Christ you can do it. These people, it's been so in debt. For 60, 70, 80 years, they have learned. Let me say it because I guess you might start learning. You start learning it as a child. So for decades in their life, it's been embedded in them, reinforced in them in their household, in their community, in their church. A lot of times, bad teaching, religion, in their school, in the government around it, it's reinforced that you don't have a shot, that you're black, you're going to be at the bottom, you're a black woman, even worse, you're a black single woman, single mother, is worse. And so the masochistic matriarch, it seems like they're addicted to pain. So this is the person that, remember I said, I'm on here to help you understand this person better, whether it's you or somebody you know. This is the person you get mad at them. Why do you know this person is going to let you down? Why do you keep bailing this person out? Why is it that you don't have, but you're willing to give everything to this person, that person, that, because they feel like, listen, I don't have a shot to make it. But if my grandkids can, and my kids can look good and do good, a lot of times it ain't even about doing good because of the cycles of poverty and stuff. It's just like, well, if they look good or if they feel good temporarily, that's the culture we were brought up in, that we don't have the discipline or the faith to make things good. We just want them to look good and feel good, at least for a little bit. If we can have some barbecues in the summer or on Friday, or smoke a little weed and drink every day to get through our miserable lives, or go on vacation, even if we have to borrow for it, or you spend 50 weeks in your life waiting for 2 weeks of vacation to actually live and have peace. They feel like that's all it's ever going to be. And so if I can make that happen, and sometimes it's true success. Sometimes they want you to go to college. They fund you. They want you to go to college. But sometimes it's people doing nothing with their life that's still taking from the masochistic matriarch. And the masochistic matriarch has gotten programmed in their mind. First of all, they feel like they're doing good. That's a sense of pleasure for them. They're not intentionally seeking pain, but they feel like if I'm helping this person, and many times they're enabling the person. Like I said, Viola Davis's parents were allowing her sisters and brothers who were on drugs, who had their friends on drugs, in and out of the house. They even stole the daddy's morphine. This man's on hospice almost, and somebody stole the morphine out of the house. And Viola Davis said that's kind of like I knew I got to break away from these people because they're not trying to do better, and I'm not going to try to save people that don't want to be saved. That's key right there. Okay, another one of my favorite movies. This guy I used to date said, "You nasty." That's a flick. That ain't really no real movie, because there are about 2 or 3 major, real serious sex scenes in that movie. But the movie it's a real powerful movie, and I've talked about it with trauma before. Matter of fact, thank you, Holy Spirit. I had it cited or referenced for this teaching tonight, because the masochistic matriarch, you give everything for your children, for your grandchildren, even if they mean you no good. It's okay. It's okay when it's okay. If they're doing right, they're doing good. It's okay when somebody actually makes it and they go back. But many times, because this is common in African-American families, especially in African-American single mother-led families, okay, the kids and the grandkids are not necessarily doing right, okay, but the masochistic matriarch is still feeding into their foolishness because it gives her some sense of pleasure, okay. Sometimes they actually think they're going to make it, but many times it's just like, well, even if they don't make it, I want them to look like they make it. I want them to have on the best clothes and have the best barbecues and parties. And it's sad, guys, because all you're doing is setting up for more generational dysfunction, right? So back to what I was saying. So Jason's Lyric, one of my favorite movies. I forgot that I had said I was going to use it for this, but I was referencing another quote, okay? Because Jada Pinkett, who played Lyric in this movie, was dating Alan Payne, who played Jason. And she said, and she was kind of hesitant about getting in a relationship with him, even though she found out he was just, he was a real good boy, a real good guy, very, very plain. He was much different from most of the guys in the wards, which is what her friend told her. Like, you need to hold on to him because he's different. You found somebody different. She said he's quiet in a world full of noise or something like that. That's what she told him. And this was a ghetto little girl, but she was into poetry, the one who was dating Tretch, right? So even though he was that guy, he was the 1 in a million guy. Lyric, as they were starting to get more involved, she said, and he was trying to approach her a little stronger, like, let's take it to another level, let's be more than friends type thing. And she was like, she said, Jason, I don't want my heart broken. She said, I don't remember in the movies if one of her boyfriends got killed or shot or whatever, but that was common around there in the wards in Louisiana, right? Whatever part of Louisiana, I don't think it was New Orleans, some part of Louisiana. But she said, Jason, I don't want my heart broken. She said, which is what you gonna do if you keep trying to save a brother that don't want to be saved. She was speaking about his brother. She said, I don't want my heart. Her brother was in all kind of gangster stuff, right? Including involved with some stuff with Jada Pinkett's brother. And she knew what kind of thug he was, right? And so she said, Jason, you know, he's like, you know, why you hesitate? I know we're feeling each other. We like, basically, and I'm paraphrasing. Why are you kind of pulling back from me? She said, I don't want my heart broken, which is what you're going to do. She's basically saying you're going to get killed out here or end up in jail if you keep trying to save a brother that don't want to be saved, right? The masochistic matriarch, which was Jason and Joshua's, his brother's mother in this movie, okay? They're trying to save people that don't want to be saved. Sometimes their goal in their mind, they're saving people that are going to be saved. But a lot of times, especially in African-American communities, especially in poor African-American communities, especially in families that are led or have strong influence, yeah, they're led. And they're not only led, it's maybe one big matriarch, the mother, the big mama, whoever, auntie, whoever. And then it's a lot of other, and she's a single black mother, and then it's a lot of other single black mothers in the family. So in those kind of families, you have people that are trying to save people that don't want to be saved. Now, many times, like I said, they have a good heart, and they say, well, this child going to medical school, they going to college, I'm going to do everything I can for them. But guess what? Sometimes those, and thank God for the people who do go and make it, okay? Thank God, bless God, I was one of the people that people put their chips on me, and it was fine, right? But other people, they go, and they never go, okay, or they go and mess up or whatever, and then you have the masochistic matriarch that's going to give their life for them, even though this person, they're trying to save people that don't want to be saved, right? So in this movie, Jason's lyrics, so that quote came from there, but then also what I thought about earlier in the day or yesterday when I was putting together my thoughts for this particular personality type, the mother on there, Jason's mother, which he had a brother, played Joshua, who was played by Bokeem Woodbine. They were night and day. Okay, even the mama said it, y'all like night and day, right? And she it's a famous little part in the movie. She said, you know, for however many years, I think 13. I ain't watched it in a long time, even though it's one of my favorite movies. I'm gonna go see if I can find it on streaming as soon as I can. Not now, not anytime soon, but well, that it's part of work, so I probably can. But nevertheless, she said she was telling the story. One day, Jason, which was Alan Payne, the good kid who was in love with Jada Pinkett, he came home and he's like, Mama, what's wrong? I see something wrong with you. He came in the house and she started telling this story. She said, for 13 years, I think it was 13 years. She said, for 13 years, I've been the manager. I've been working at such and such. I've been the manager for this year. And she said, in 13 years, my register never came up short. And then she said, and one day, my child took my 13 years for $12 or $7 or whatever. It was a small amount of money. It was less than $20, I think, whatever it was, right? Which the brother, she was talking about Jason's brother, which is Joshua, played by Bokeem Woodbine. And she said, y'all like night and day. I would have threw him out my house a long time ago if it wasn't for you. So Jason he's not a masochistic matriarch, but he feels like he got to try to save the mom and his brother or whatever. And he almost lost Lyric because of that, okay? Because she said, you keep trying to save folks ain't trying to be saved, you're gonna break my heart because you're gonna either end up dead or in jail. But the mother, prime example of a masochistic matriarch, she told him, she said, Jason, for 13 years I've been working at whatever chicken spot where they was working, whatever. She said 13 years, however many years I've been manager, I think. She said in 13 years, my register never came up short. Now that's a miracle right there. I used to work at the bank now. And you know, at the bank, if it's over a nickel, whatever, you gotta count again. So listen, gotta re-enter stuff. But at a restaurant, you know, you got all kinds of people, a lot of kind of folks that young folks, people still. She said in 13 years, I think it was 13 years, and I could, whatever the number was. She said in 13 years, my register never came up short. Then she said, and one day my son took my 13 years for $12 or $8 or whatever it was. And she just broke down. She said, I tried to love him. And y'all like night and day. If I would have thrown him out of my house a long time ago if it wasn't for you, right? So the masochistic matriarch, when people again and 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 again, and I'm not exaggerating, and again, show you they're not going to do right. But the masochistic matriarch, somebody got to be there for them. I got to hold things together, and it's to their own demise. A lot of times the masochistic matriarch, the person that I feel like the burden, I have to hold things together. When in reality, if they really knew what was going on, they're not holding things together. They're just perpetuating generational dysfunction. They're just making sure that it continues to happen. My God, this is some good stuff, y'all. So the masochistic matriarch, how do you handle this person? Okay. First of all, if it's you that they keep putting their chips on and you're not doing right, I did some videos on this before. Like, did they? What was the video I did? Did they bet the house on you? Okay, and it was. I think it was right when I was reading this book by Viola Davis. When Viola Davis said, "I wonder what mom and dad's dreams were," and the sister said, "We were their dreams." When somebody bet the house, you know, that's an expression. They bet the house. They put all their chips on you, all their hopes and dreams on you. Was it worth it? Okay, why am I sharing this? Because if you're that person, the masochistic matriarch, let me tell you this: it's unhealthy. You're perpetuating dysfunction in the family, and guess what? A lot of times when you think you're holding it together, you're just making sure that it falls apart, mama, big mama, auntie. So you need to realize, and let me take you back to the root of it. It's because stuff didn't happen right in your family, so in your childhood. So you want to make sure that your children, your grandchildren, don't. But guess what? They don't have to go through that, but they play a part in that too. You can't give your life for them, and they won't even give their own life for themselves. Whoo, that was powerful right there, guys. The masochistic matriarch. So I'm talking to people who may find yourself that this is you, okay, or you know somebody like this. So if it's you, you got to realize and go back to that that place in your childhood, and go back to that and say, hey, listen, it's never too late. Whatever, it's never too late to. There's a quote. They put it on little things. A quote that says, "It's never too late to be what you could have been." With God, nothing's impossible. You can be, and guess what? Many people there are some people who have given you a good return on investment. Okay, think about that. You might have 5 children, and 2 of them have taken your love and your sacrifice and gone and done great things, and 3 of them are knuckleheads, and you're trying to save people that don't want to be saved. Take the 2 and realize that it wasn't you. If it worked for somebody, that means it wasn't you. That's the problem. Okay, and so take that. Also, go back, and when you realize that it's not your job don't live vicariously try to live through your grandchildren and children and nieces and nephews. Ask God to make it happen through you. I know elderly people who are doing major things, doing things that young people are not doing, because they realize that it's never too late and God can do anything. Okay. And then guess what? If you're the person who knows a masochistic matriarch, first of all, don't think, especially matriarchs, a lot of times they're elders. They're older than you. They're seasoned. Don't think they're stupid. They think they're. Share this video with them, or get some insight, and you get it from here, and share this with them. Also, if you're the person that they're betting the chips on, or if you're close to some of them, okay, talk to that person. Talk to yourself. They sacrificed all this for me. Was I worth it? Okay, I need to step up. Sister, brother, cousin, were you worth it? Okay. And so again, the purpose of these videos is not to just bring up what people think are flawed people, because it's not. They're trauma impacted personality types. But I want you to recognize what's going on, why it happened, and then deal with it. Okay, deal with it. Realize that you have other value than except for the value that you're trying to invest to help somebody make it, who is either not trying to make it, okay, or it's killing you to try to help them make it. One, because a lot of times they're not trying to make it. You know that whole thing of usually when somebody jumps in to save somebody who's drowning, they end up getting drowned by the person who was drowning because they're fighting. All right. And so listen, I feel like it's done, not just because I need to get off here, but I think Holy Spirit helped me to do what I wanted to do tonight. Okay. So I used some good examples in here, talked about a couple celebrities, talked about personals. Listen, this is powerful. Part 9 of ACES at Play. Okay. The masochistic matriarch. Okay. You trying to save everybody. Feeling like the whole family is your responsibility. No, everybody's responsible for themselves. And guess what? They need to be looking to God to help them and save them, not you. That's a powerful. That just came from the Holy Spirit. I'm gonna leave out of here with that. Okay. Everybody's responsible for their own success, and guess what? Ultimately, only God can help them with that. God is their savior, not you, masochistic matriarch. Let your mother, grandmother, big mama, auntie know that, okay? And stop painting themselves trying to save people that don't want to be saved. Because many times it's many tears, many sleepless nights, much financial pressure, and all types of stuff trying to save people that don't want to be saved. I love y'all, guys. There's a playlist on YouTube with all 9 parts of this, but it's also, you got to scroll a little bit. or search. I don't know if you can search ACES at Play. I can, and then bring the videos up. But this is a powerful series, all right? A trauma triumphant series, okay? It's not what's wrong with people, but what happened to them, okay? Because they were conditioned into whatever way they are. That's not a healthy behavior, all right? And you can learn to deal with them better and help them deal with themselves better as well, okay? All by the grace of God, by the knowledge and the wisdom that he's sharing through me, all right? I love y'all. Peace. Good night.